Kimura, Kimura Sloan. What a beautiful name. I think that's a really beautiful name. Sam Sloan's not a bad name either. But Kimura Sloan, that's like a princess, I would say. Welcome. Welcome very much to Conversation. It's a pleasure to welcome to the program two guests. Probably a good deal of the talk will be going on by one of those two, that being Sam Sloan. And he's a very interesting person. We're going to let him talk about his own story, an incredible life story. And he has on his knee his daughter, and her name is Kimura?
Sandra Kimura.
Sandra Kimura Sloan. And we've been thinking that sounds like a princess name to me. Sandra Kimura Sloan. Her Highness, Sandra Kimura Sloan. Welcome, Your Highness. Welcome very much to Conversation. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to the program. And you too, Sam. Welcome very, very much. Maybe you could share a little bit of your own background. You've had a hell of a background. You really got an interesting story. Where were you born and raised, that sort of thing, and then we can talk about your books and publishing and your incredible life.
Well, I was born in Richmond, Virginia. Mostly grew up in Richmond and in Lynchburg, Virginia, to my great regret, because Lynchburg is controlled by a bunch of religious fanatics who
really?
Yes,
yeah, I didn't know that.
Completely nutty people in Lynchburg, Virginia.
Uh-huh.
Biggest mistake my mother ever made was move to Lynchburg, Virginia in 1955.
Why'd you do that?
Well, because she got a good job there.
Oh, that's usually what happens, yeah.
She was
the kind of thing that's known to
She was psychiatrist director of the Lynchburg Child Guidance Clinic.
She was a psychiatrist?
Child psychiatrist, yes.
Okay,
my mother was a child psychiatrist. My father was a lawyer who worked for the Internal Revenue Service. So my parents are both highly educated and professional people. But anyway, they moved to Lynchburg, and that's just about the same time as Jerry Falwell, as a matter of fact, moved to Lynchburg. Wow. Who's the bane of my existence, because he's caused me terrible, terrible trouble.
Has he really? You've had run-ins with him, or just
absolutely.
abstractly, or right in person?
No.
You know the man personally?
Of course I know the man personally.
Okay, we'll get on to that. Yeah, he's a terrible character.
Yeah, he kidnapped my children and all kinds of stuff.
Not really.
Yeah.
Okay, we can get to that. Yeah.
See, I have 8 children. This is only my latest production.
Boy, do they all look? I mean, she's so beautiful, right?
Well, as a matter of fact,
how did she get to be so beautiful?
To be perfectly honest with you, and this is true, that all of my children are very good looking for some odd reason.
Well, it figures.
It probably because
I haven't seen the distance. I mean, I haven't seen, Are they all with one?
No, I have 5 different mothers.
5 different mothers? Well, then there'd be a lot of variety. Variety is the spice of life.
But they all look different, but nevertheless, all my children seem to be attractive for some reason.
But Sandra is so handsome, she's really a handsome thing, and I think very much like I would guess she's about 5 or 6 years old.
She just turned, she's 6 years old now.
That's a wonderful time to be. They're very creative. There's studies saying the most creative consciousness among 5-year-olds in the world, cross-culturally and everything.
Pretty much out of control, too. I had a hard, that's why I'm late getting here, but...
Yeah, but anyway, that's why you were a little bit late. We may run out of time, but okay.
But anyway, so I grew up in Lynchburg, Virginia. I graduated EC class. No, let her make up her own mind.
If she wants.
Because it depends on what she wants to do, she has her own mind of her own.
Yeah, good, okay.
But anyway... So I graduated from EC Glass High School. I went to the University of California, Berkeley, majoring in math. By the way, I made an 800 in my math college boards.
Is that good?
That's perfect. The perfect score.
Perfect score in math.
That's one of my
incredible. Perfect score. That's amazing. You had a mathematical bent. Yeah, okay, good.
Then in Berkeley, I got involved with the free speech movement. And
Mario Savio. Huh?
Yeah, I knew Mario Savio personally.
Did you know him?
Oh, yes. I knew Mario Savio, Jerry Rubin, and the whole gang.
Yeah.
And then I became president of the Sexual Freedom League, and we were sort of student revolutionaries, And then finally, I had to get out of town. I was sort of like being targeted by the local authorities.
So
I went to New York and hid my identity and became a stockbroker.
You changed your name?
No, I never changed my name, but people just didn't associate me with the same person, because it was sort of a different thing being a Berkeley student radical and then suddenly being a state conservative.
Banker. And a banker,
a stockbroker.
So you went to stockbroking.
I had my own.
Okay, we're going to show that book. That's a great book.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I think you show it this way, because I think the camera's over here.
Well, actually, there, you can show it. Yeah, let her see it. Yeah, that's Alice in Wonderland. That's a great book.
Well,
that's her picture book.
It's my rewriting of the book. It's Alice in Wonderland made simple for kids. You see the title?
Really?
It's Alice in Wonderland made simple for kids.
I'll be darned.
So what I've done is I have...
Is this a good book?
Yeah, why don't you take a look at it?
Sandra, is this a good book, Sandra?
Well, she seems to like it.
Yeah. Oh, I would like it. Look at these drawings. Let's let the Sandra, honey. Could we let him see the Sandra? Could we let him see the drawings here? Maybe if you can come in on this and that. Boy, they're just beautiful drawings. Hang it if you can get in here. I don't know what camera.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They're great drawings. No, these are books you've published.
But these are the original drawings.
You've rewritten.
I just blew them up. No, what I did is I rewrote them. Yes, I published the book. I rewrote the basic story. The whole story of Alice in Wonderland is in there. But the entire Alice in Wonderland, so all the characters are in there, all the major events. Nevertheless, but the original Alice in Wonderland is just frankly too difficult for children to read.
Through the looking glass and that.
It's
for adults. It's for mathematics.
Right, exactly. The Alice in Wonderland is really
No, you see, we're showing two. And what have you got there? What's it say? Can you read? You read yet?
Now that's a chess book.
Read yet? That's a chess book.
That's about the World Chess Championship.
Yeah. And you're a close friend. Yeah, okay. Thank you, honey. Thank
I was a friend of Bobby Fischer. I tend to call him Booby, though.
Elista Diaries, Karpov. Okay, go on. Yeah. Now, she's bringing these books out faster we can talk.
What has happened is I've she's a great advertising guy.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
I became the owner of Ishii Press. Ishii Press is Ishii Press is a long-established book company publishing Go books since 1968.
Put it over here. Yeah. Okay.
Published since 1968. But it got into financial trouble.
Yeah.
And I wound up being the owner of Ishii Press. So now I have reprinted. This is, for example, this book in her hand is one of the original Ishii Press books published in 1968. This book right here.
Ishii Press, yeah.
Ishii, I-S-H-I.
Is that here in New York? Or?
Well, it's actually based in Japan.
I see.
The parent company is in Japan.
Right.
But I'm the owner of the parent company in Japan too. Okay. But this particular book. Now here's this book here. This book actually this is one of my great artworks.
You were a big thing on Go, right?
Yeah, because the guy had a cigarette in his hand when this in the original picture. So I took the cigarette out of his hand and put the tip of his finger in, and I think you would never know.
Why did you take the cigarette out of his hand?
Because cigarette smoking
is now out of style.
Bad for you. So
what if it comes back to style?
Would you guess that photograph had been doctored?
No, I can't see it without my. I can hardly see without my glasses. But that's Photoshop or something.
Yeah, with Photoshop, right? I photoshopped it and took out the.
No, that was really clever. Yeah. It looks like he doesn't have a cigarette, but that was really a cigarette.
I even had to erase.
Don't you feel like you're
some bliss of smoke in there? I had to Photoshop it.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that's good. That's thoughtful. Now, what happens if smoking comes back in? We can put the cigarette back in.
There've been a lot of people who know
anything to test the market.
This guy needs his cigarette, and we want the people. Want me to put it back in. Yeah, here's another book.
Yeah.
Now this is
your
I think the camera is over here. This book is strictly a reprint of a famous book published in the Soviet Union. By the way, any book before 1980 is not copyrighted in the Soviet Union because they didn't honor our copyright, so we don't honor their copyright.
Is that right?
Yeah. If you can find a good book, there are not very many, but there are some.
Before 1980?
I think before 1980, because I think in 1980...
That's interesting, yeah, okay.
I believe in 1983 or thereabouts, they signed the Copyright Convention. So after a certain date, their books are copyrighted. But this is one of those...
Thank you.
This is one of those which has no copyright.
And this has about the... this is Go, or this one was Go?
Chess. This is Go.
Yeah. That's a great game, Go, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you good at that? Do you play yourself?
No, I'm not a good Go player. I'm a good chess player.
You are a good chess player, yeah.
I'm a champion at Chinese chess.
Oh, I don't know what Chinese chess is, but we're going to find out.
We're going to find out. And then, in fact,
endgame studies. What endgame study in the 2,545 endgame studies? What is that?
Chess endgames.
Chess. What's an endgame? I don't know.
The last part of the game in chess, when you have like 3 or 4 pieces on the board, usually queens are traded. Every side has 2 or 3 pieces, or maybe a few pawns.
Right.
That's called the endgame.
It is. Okay, I didn't realize that. I didn't know that term. It could be applied in literature and everything too, That would be a useful thing to be put into other things. She's holding a book. Maybe we address that.
This one is about the Sexual Freedom League. I was president of the Sexual Freedom League, published in 1967.
Okay.
By a nudist colony which wanted to branch into sex.
Naturalists.
Naturalist colony.
Yeah, naturalists. Yeah.
They actually. In nudist colonies, sex is not allowed. You're not even supposed to even look downward. You can't look down. But
how can you not?
But anyway.
Furtive glances.
Now here's the game that I'm really a champion in. This is Chinese chess. Chinese chess is a different game.
Oh, wait a minute. Let you show them this one now, honey. You give me that one, okay? Give me that one. Okay, and I'll give it to you later, okay? Yeah. And then you show it, and then you can show it to a camera. And if you got a camera, can come in. that camera's going to come in on you. There you go.
See, now this is the game.
See your picture in
See,
the
this thing here, this is an elephant. That's the Chinese character for elephant. And this one over here is a Chinese character for game. So this is Xiangxi, Chongguo Shangxi. See, I know a little Chinese too.
Yeah, you do. That's really interesting. They're ideograms, right? The Chinese opera, the symbols are ideograms. They're like gestalts. There's a whole gestalt. They have a thing sunset.
Right.
It's not like the phonetic alphabet.
Right. But you can see that this is an elephant. See that thing?
How do you know that's elephant?
Well, because I happen to know this.
Yeah. So they have a different thing. That's so you become, and you published all of these.
Right. And also, this one I wrote. This particular book I wrote.
You wrote this. And tell me. Now slow down just a minute, okay, Princess? Okay, please. What is Chinese chess?
Chinese
I've
chess
never heard of Chinese
is a
chess.
game. It's played by about 100 million people, and it has an elephant, a cannon, a guard, and also it has a king, it has a rook, it has a horse, it has some of the pieces of chess that international chess has. It has pawns. Yeah. It has some pieces that our traditional kind of chess has, but it also has other Chinese characters, and it's probably played by as many people as play regular chess, but they're all Chinese. Everybody who's Chinese plays Chinese chess.
Well, how is it different than the chess that we're familiar with?
The pieces move differently.
They move differently.
And like the cannon captures by jumping, for example, and it has to jump in order to capture. Yeah. And things like that. And the pawns don't.
Wait. Okay. Well, here we're good talk. Yeah.
Okay. Don't promote by moving sideways.
So we hold two. You hold that one in your hand, and I'll hold this one in my hand, and they'll come in. So we got two things here. We got regular old chess, and we're going to talk about your friend Bobby Fischer, right?
Yeah. Okay, there it is. Right. Yeah.
And then also they've got this Chinese chess played by, did you say 1 billion people?
100 million people play
It's a major game in China?
Sure.
Everybody plays it?
Everybody plays it.
Like they play, what do you call it, dominoes down in the Caribbean and stuff?
You won't find any Chinese person who doesn't play Chinese chess.
Really? Why has it become adopted here? We should play it here, or should we, or not?
Very few. I'm pretty sure. Of the non-Chinese, I'm in the top 3 in the world.
Are you playing?
And playing,
of the non-Chinese?
Yeah.
So you are a chess master, or?
Well, I hesitate to say it because I'm actually not rated a master right now. But for practical purposes, for the average person, you can call me a master. But actually, my rating is below. It's dropped down. I'm 63 years old. I'm going downhill. But
is it a young man's game or a young person's game?
Well, the U.S. chess champion a couple of years ago, a 16-year-old kid won the U.S. chess championship. Yeah.
Really?
So it tends to be
almost getting down like gymnastics. Or something.
Well, that's an exaggeration, but it tends to be. Younger players tend to dominate.
Well, I meant gymnastics. You're over the hill by the time you're 15, because you're so supple and everything like that. It's physical and all that. So, now we gotten a little bit astray because you were in Lynchburg with Mr. Falwell, and your life is so interesting. We got a lot of things to do, and she's been helping us display some of these books. I think I really thank you for your help, Princess. Okay, but I'm going to put this on the floor now. Okay,
yeah, just put them on the floor.
I'm going to put it on the floor here, and we'll make a pile. Okay.
Yeah, I think I've got.
Can you make a pile out of all those, and then we can deal with?
Here's my bestseller. I got to show you this.
Here's a best-selling book.
This is the best-selling book I got. Now this book.
My 30 Years Backstairs at the White House by Lillian Rogers Parks and collaborations with Francis Bat Layton. Now listen, this is a best-selling book
of mine.
That you wrote?
No, I published. I didn't write this.
You published. Yeah. Okay, when you say it's of yours. Now, I don't, it doesn't, here you got the issue press in the back. So tell me about this book.
Okay,
why is it a bestseller and what's it about?
Well, I'll tell you, the reason why it's a bestseller was a movie with a very similar name was made. That's why it's a bestseller. But anyway, the story of this book is there were 2 women. They were domestic servants working in the White House.
Right.
The first one was hired in 1909. That was the first black person ever to be hired as working in the White House.
Really?
They didn't allow black. Of course, you understand. There were no black people allowed in the White House.
That's right. I understand. Well, this was what year, what time period?
1909. She was the first black person hired to work in the White House. And then during the administration of Hoover, because Herbert Hoover fired a lot of the people, so they hired her daughter. So her mother and daughter were working together in the White House. Then her mother retired, and then she continued to work there until 1960, at the very end of the Eisenhower administration. She left just before Kennedy took office. And so between the 2 of them, mother and daughter, they worked a total of 50 years in the White House, a little bit more than 50 years in the White House. And so they got to see all kinds of things going on.
I'll bet.
Like who was
It'd
sleeping.
be like a Byzantine court?
Like who was sleeping with the president.
Yes. Who's in that Lincoln bedroom?
Who's in the Lincoln bedroom?
At
stuff
all
like
hours of the day and night.
And so they wrote this book Well, I'll give you an idea. They were very discreet. The woman said, well, President Roosevelt, he just had that Lucy Mercer was just his secretary. Of course, there was no hanky-panky going on. That's what she wrote in this book. But later on, she wrote another book. And she, well, actually, that wasn't quite true. As a matter of fact, they were sleeping together in the same bed every night for 20 years.
Oh, well, okay. Well, that's the way truth can be done. Yeah, that kind of thing. And you publish all these. Now, we're moving a little bit afield. We're moving very fast because you were getting an 800 perfect score in mathematics at Berkeley and all these kind of things. And you knew Lynchburg and everything. Now, the publication of books is something that's relatively recently to your such well-led life, right? So can we back up a little bit about some of your development of the, how did you've had such an interesting life. Okay, you were in Lynchburg, brought up, and so forth. You went to Berkeley, and
they basically told me in Berkeley I had to get out of town. They didn't want me there anymore. So
was that because you were such a rebellious activist or something?
Well, because I was organizing.
Activist?
I was organizing sex orgies on the campus of the University of California, Berkeley.
Well, that would probably do it with a lot of members of the community. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Sex orgies were your thing. What year are you talking? Mario Savio?
No,
63.
Primarily 64, 66. I was doing this primarily in 66 and 67. About a year and a half period, about a year and a half, roughly speaking.
Your thing was on that, but you were also political, or
well, yeah,
that was political.
See, this was as political because we were advocating for gay rights, for example.
Okay.
And I'm 100%.
In San Francisco, you got a lot of people that would be on your side.
Yeah, I'm 100% heterosexual. I just want you to know I'm absolutely not gay at all. But
you're sure?
But I'm.
You're sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
You're sure? Okay.
My 5 wives will tell you. But anyway,
okay.
But nevertheless, I do support gay rights. I always have. I always have. And lesbian rights and all these other rights,
all human rights.
So it always bothers me when they say the Stonewall movement for gay rights started in 1974 or something like that. Well, what was I doing in 1964?
Well, it was heavy back in the 14th century.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I understand. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but so anyway, I moved to New York, and then I got a job working for a brokerage firm, Hayden Stone. I worked there for 2 years as an over-the-counter trader, and then I established my own firm. Actually, Hayden Stone got in financial trouble and went out of business about the same time. I established my own firm, which is called Samuel H. Sloan and Company, a registered broker-dealer. I operated this as a registered broker-dealer for 5 years.
Were you taking your mathematical skills to good advantage there, or how did you happen to get into that?
Well, I tell you what skill. I have one particular skill. I'm starting to lose it now, frankly. But I have a virtually photographic memory.
No fooling. Yeah. What a fantastic thing to have.
I can remember
like Photoshop.
Thousands of telephone numbers, for example, stock prices. So I wouldn't have to, when I was trading stocks, I wouldn't have to write the thing down.
You could just remember.
I just remembered the whole thing.
I can't remember my own phone number.
Well, now I'm starting to lose it. By the way, I discovered that I'll actually forget things now. But back then I was really 100%. I could. I just didn't forget anything.
Yeah.
And so I could actually trade like 500 stocks at the same time. Remember, trading 500 stocks, I had to keep 500 numbers in my head.
Okay. The numbers are shifting.
Yeah, they weren't. There wasn't NASDAQ. They didn't have NASDAQ. It hadn't been invented yet.
Really?
Later on, was invented very shortly, and that's actually what eventually put me out of business.
But that would have given you a great advantage over the mere mortals that didn't have NASDAQ to work from, or the automation and so forth. Or how did it work? Did you have an advantage with that kind of memory?
No, it had me a disadvantage because see, my advantage was this fantastic ability I had to remember thousands of numbers.
Yeah.
So as soon as it was all on a computer screen, then everybody could see it. It wasn't. I didn't have a built-in advantage anymore. It was.
But before that computer screen was all there, and you were there before there was a computer screen.
Yeah,
you didn't use an abacus or something, but you had an advantage there that you were able to parlay that into some real money.
Yeah. So I think in the year 1982, I think I made. Which is a lot, $80,000. I mean, it doesn't seem like much now, but it was good money then. 82, I made $80,000. Then 72, I mean. Then I went to Iceland.
That's real money then.
And I was with Bobby Fischer when he won the World Chess Championship.
Yeah. Now, how did that happen? Because you were involved in chess. You were chess playing. You were competing at the top level, or
I
near
was
the
friends
top?
with Bobby Fischer. I met him in 1956.
Bobby Fischer's an incredible person. And you knew him well, friend?
In 1950, yes, I knew him very well.
Okay,
I was one of his closest friends.
Talk a little bit about that, because he's a very interesting fellow.
Well, he's completely crazy, of course, but other than that...
He's crazy, right? You say crazy, right? Well, he's a hell of a chess player, right?
Well,
you play him? You play him?
No, I never actually played him a real game. I analyzed. He would say, well, what do you think about this position? What do you think Black's best move is, or something like that? He would ask me questions. I believe he was essentially feeling me out, trying to get what my opinion was
On the move, you mean?
Yeah, not that he knew that he was much better than me. Yeah. But he wanted to see what, let's say, a typical player of my ability would.
What does it take to be a chess master? In terms of mental acuity?
I would say the number one thing, which is also a thing which I have, is memory. To be able to remember thousands of positions and moves and patterns and things like that.
Are you familiar with Ray Kurzweil?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, he's a guy, cyberneticist, and he wrote a book called The Age of Spiritual Machines. He wrote another. Honey, don't touch that, please. Okay, thank you, okay, Sarah. Sandra. And he wrote a book called The Age of Intelligent Machines in 1989. Then he wrote another big bestseller called The Age of Spiritual Machines. And from 10 years out, he was reading algorithms. He was a cyber guy and an inventor. And he invented things and made them marketable and then sold them for marketing. And he's a major figure. Everybody who's interested in the implications philosophically of cyber are on his site. It's a hell of a site. But he predicted from 10 years out, within about 2 months, when the Big Blue was going to beat the world chess champion. From 10 years out by projecting algorithms, you know. So it's a matter that could be put into a computational thing or something more than, it's what makes for Russians seem to be able to do very well in that game. And what are the...
Well, it's like a national game of Russia. I mean, everybody in Russia plays. I was kind of an anomaly. I essentially taught myself how to play chess.
All right.
When I grew up in Lynchburg, Virginia, there were essentially no other players. There were a few players, but they were very weak. So
I played Chinese checkers? You play checkers?
No, I didn't play Chinese chess back then.
Not Chinese checkers.
Well, yeah, but I know how to play, but I never actually.
Cracker Barrel in the winter with cider, and you're sitting in a Cracker Barrel, and the right goes over the black. You know, the regular old checkers. Did you ever play that?
Well, of course I played.
Is there a challenge to that, or is chess a whole other league?
No, checkers is a real game, and there are people who take it very seriously and study it and play it. But I just never took it up.
Didn't take to it, but chess you did. Chess is a wonderful game, isn't it? Very complex.
So I was with Bobby Fischer when he won the World Chess Championship, and then.
How did you come to meet him? If you met him?
Well, I met him the first time. I met him the first time in the 1956 Eastern States Open. As a matter of fact, it was over Thanksgiving weekend and 1956, and there's actually a picture of me with Bobby Fischer in the Washington Post. You can look it up. I think it's November 26, 1956.
Okay.
In the Washington Post.
Now, where did you first meet eyes? Where did I first cast eyes upon Bobby Fischer and meet him? Then. That was. How did you happen to be in Reykjavik? Because of the chess thing? Were you involved in it?
He asked me to. He through an intermediary. He asked me to come over to be.
Through an intermediary. You met through an intermediary. He had heard of you. No. How did it happen?
I knew him very well then.
He's famous. He's also reclusive, I think.
No, I knew him very well already.
How did you come to know him?
Well, I really got to know him personally because at the Marshall Chess Club in 1964. He taught a class. It was 6 lectures, and in order to send, you had to pay $20 for the 6 lectures. Now, this is an amazing bargain. Many people today would pay $100 for just one lecture, or $500 just for one lecture.
Right.
But now it was a lecture series. He gave 6 lectures for $20 for the whole package, and I paid the $20, and I took that series. And then after each lecture, I would go out and we would go bowling, or we'd play pool, or we'd play ping pong, or we would hang around.
Bobby.
Me and Bobby, and we would walk around in New York City. Sometimes we would start from the Marshall Chess Club on 23 West 10th Street.
23 West 10th is still there?
It's still there, yeah.
That's the one, yeah. Abby Hoffman's wife used to work there, Joanna. That's down below Washington Square Park.
Oh, right, yeah, right.
Or that area, yeah.
I didn't know Abby Hoffman's wife.
Abby Hoffman's wife.
Really?
Joanna, yeah. She's great people. Friends with Elliot Katz and poets and that.
How long ago was that?
That was about, since I've lost touch, but about 7, 8, 9 years ago, she was working in a chess club, a great chess club, right off Washington Square.
Abby Hoffman's wife was working.
His second wife, Joanna. He was with her when she was on the Lam up in Canada and everything.
I may have met.
Abby Hoffman was a great guy. Did you know Abby?
I didn't know him. I actually went to his house to give him a copy of that book, Sex and Martyrs, the one we showed up.
Yeah.
And a woman answered the door, and I gave her the book, and she said she would give it to Abby, but he didn't come out to see me.
Yeah, okay.
Of course, he was probably, in legal difficulties at the time already, but that must have been in '68. So
I did a program with Abby Hoffman when he was just up surfacing. He had been underground and everything. Mm-hmm. And we did a program, it was over here, and we went to the place, and we had one of these great big decks, the 3/4-inch deck to record the program. Mm-hmm. And I knew him kind of and everything. We went, and they'd turned off his electricity. He had no electricity because of Commonwealth, the Cadison or something. So we had to bring an extension cord from the apartment upstairs down to plug in the equipment to make the to make the program. But that was, Joanna was there then, you know. Yeah, but anyway.
Well, I did meet a woman who was his wife.
I like Abby Hoffman a lot.
I met a woman who was his wife in '68. I guess that was.
Well, that would have been the Anna, or I don't know. Her, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay. But I know it was in the village. I can't remember where it was exactly. I was living in the village at the time. So okay. So anyway, then I got to know Bobby Fischer quite well. I became one of his closest friends. You know.
It was hard to get to know him. I had thought he would be a very person that would be very hard to get to know. If you must have had a strike in a court. Well, because I got the impression of him being sort of standoffish. Am I wrong? I don't know.
Not exactly, but he had certain phobias. Like, for example, he did not want to have anything to do with Frank Brady.
Oh,
and Frank Brady is a man who is now a chairman of the journalism department at St. John's University. He wrote a book called Profile of a Prodigy, Bobby Fischer.
Oh.
And Bobby Fischer told me that if you ever talk to Brady, you can never talk to me again.
Really?
Just like that.
Because he reported so badly on him, according to his viewers.
Well, apparently he didn't like the book, Profile of a Prodigy. So anyway, he told me, he said, if you ever talk to Brady again, you can never talk to me. So then the question comes up. Well, then after that, every now and then I bump into Frank Brady.
Yeah.
In fact, I meet him quite often.
And you talk to him.
And I have to be.
You have to do semaphore or
no,
sign language.
I'm polite, and he's a good guy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with him, but I always had to worry about this thing that I would say something that would get back to Bobby that I spoke to Frank.
So do you think it was a paranoia or something? But, honey, don't get on that camera.
Stop it.
Sandra, come on over here with us, okay? Come on over here, we'll play.
Okay.
So but don't go there because it's not a good place for you to go.
You can't touch the camera.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so anyway, so now in a way, when Fischer was, I could not appear on this TV show.
Yeah.
I could not come up here and say I'm a friend of Fischer.
You just did. No, wait a minute.
He's dead now.
Oh,
by the way, you may not have heard. Yeah, he's dead now. But when he was alive, I could never appear on a TV show or any public place and say I'm a friend of Fischer. I had to keep that secret because if he found out about it,
that's what I'm saying. He's very reclusive. He was very self-guarded in there. And you knew him pretty well. Did you get down to real serious conversation at a personal level? And
sure, I did.
You were really friendly.
Many times, yeah.
Well, it must have been better. Did he have many people around him that were like that? I had the impression of him being from afar, not knowing him ever or anything, and not being following chess. That he was sort of reclusive or off in a tower or something like that.
Well, I tell you, there were a couple of people who knew him better than I did. One was the person who actually was his closest friend was named Jackie Beers.
Okay.
Of course, Jackie Beers is a lunatic. And nobody knows whether he's dead or alive. Some people think he's alive. Some people think he's dead. But anyway,
Beers?
Jackie Beers. Yeah, he's a little wiry guy. He's a kind of an expert. He's probably, I think I'm slightly better than Jackie Beers at chess, but we're about to equal.
Okay,
and we're both experts. And then there was Bernard Zuckerman was a very close friend of his. He would analyze chess with, and there was another chess master named James Gore. So these were his three foes. Beers, Zuckerman, and Gore were really his closest friends.
Right.
I don't know what happened to James Gore. I don't know if he's dead or alive. I haven't seen or heard from him in over 20 years.
Yeah.
Zuckerman, I know he's still alive in Brooklyn Heights. He's also recluse. He doesn't come out. You won't see him very much anymore. But Zuckerman was the only one who would actually. Bobby would actually call him on the phone, and I've seen him do this. And I would say, Zuckerman, what do you think I should do after knight to e5 in the Polagevsky variation of the Sicilian defense or something like that?
Okay, that's a chess thing. Yeah.
And Zuckerman said, well, I think you should play bishop to e7, and then Fischer would actually play that move.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's the only guy.
Only he would take that from. Yeah.
But Bobby Fischer. But actually, I asked Zuckerman about that.
Yeah.
Not too long ago, about 2 years ago, I happened to speak to Zuckerman on the phone. I said, isn't it a fact that Bobby Fischer would actually play the move on the board that you told him to play?
Yeah, right. Because he wouldn't have done it with yours, right?
Right.
Or with anyone else.
And
maybe.
he said no. He said, not true, absolutely not true. There's only one move that I ever told him to play, and he actually played that move.
Oh, really?
And the move was in a certain position of the poison pawn variation against Bielik. That I told him to play bishop to e7, and he played that move.
Yeah.
And so then I looked up.
Well, what if you gave him?
I haven't finished the story.
Sorry, yeah.
I looked up the game. Bielik Fischer, Poderoz, 1958. Turns out the move that Zuckerman told him to play was a horrible blunder, and Bielik would have won the game if he had played queen to h5 in that game. But instead, he played queen to h4, and Fischer had a combination, won the game.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, one thing I want to ask you: what if you get that thing where you gave him advice and he had the move already worked out and he knew exactly what he was going to do, and you happened to tell him the exact move that he thought, then he would be doing the same kind of thing you suggested to him, or another person would suggest, because it also comported with what he had already decided was the right move, and they both come upon the same one.
Well, yeah, but
how do you judge something like that?
No, we talk about these games.
You said he never would move what anybody told him. What if the other person had come upon the same good move that he had come upon?
Yeah, but it's not during the game. We're talking about a position that might arise. The game might have been played 5 or 10 years later. We're not talking about during the game. We're talking about this. We're talking about just general discussion. Like there were certain openings. Like for example, there's an opening called the Polagayevsky variation, and there was a chess player named Polagayevsky who always played this variation.
You mean when he's playing for the world chess champions on television all over the world, you couldn't have had Sam Sloan whispering in his ear the right move?
No.
Maybe a thing written in his ear. They wouldn't know. They got to think a secret thing. You could have snuck the right move into his ear, but he probably wouldn't want to sit still for that.
Well, see they
seem to have big egos.
No. But see that is now a problem because now we have computers who are actually better than the best humans.
That's what Big Blue beat Kasparov about 1999, wasn't it? Or
1997.
97,
but
yeah.
Actually, there are some complaints.
Kurzweil predicted that within about 2 months, 10 years out.
Kasparov has some legitimate complaints about that. One of his complaints was that during the middle of the match they reprogrammed the computer and they made some changes, and he suspected that there was some interference during the games. And in fact, Joel Benjamin wrote an article, because Joel Benjamin was on the Deep Blue team. Joel Benjamin wrote an article in Chess Life online recently saying, no, this is absolutely not true. I did not change the moves. I did not suggest any moves during the game. We made changes between the games.
It all was Big Blue. It was all Big Blue.
They made changes between the games, which of course is all right, but they didn't make any changes while the game was going.
I see. Yeah,
but I had a program which competed in the World Computer Chess Championship in 1986 in Cologne, Germany.
Yeah.
And my opponent did change the program while the game was going.
Really? Yeah.
And I felt he should have been forfeited, but the rules were lax back then. I had a program called Rex Chess, which competed in the 1986 World Computer Chess Championship. We finished near the bottom. We didn't do too well, but there was one game where my opponent should have been forfeited because the programmer changed the program while the game was going.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely not allowed.
That's not cricket.
And then another programmer who was online to a computer, to a Craig computer in Calgary, Alberta.
A supercomputer. Yeah.
He was online to a Craig computer in Alberta, Canada. The program crashed, and I was almost sure that was because Michael Valvo suggested a move, and he fiddled with the computer to get him to play that move that Grandmaster International Master Valvo suggested.
It's an interesting world, that world. Is that the most challenging game ever created in the mind of man? Chess, do you think, is the most challenging in terms of intellectual strategy? Or Go? Go is another one.
Go is a far more difficult game.
Is more difficult?
Absolutely more difficult.
Different philosophy, different strategy, different way of thinking, different...
Go
is there you're in closing space in Go.
Yeah, Go is a more difficult game for a simple possibility that there are 289 moves, points on the Go board.
Okay.
And so in the first move, you have 289 legal moves.
Yeah.
And the second move, you have 288, but you have one less. But nevertheless, the huge number of moves available, even though a move is simply putting a Go stone on the board, it's not like chess where you have a knight jumps around.
Or Chinese chess.
Yeah.
You think Chinese chess could catch on here? Or there's not that much...
The big impetus, the big impediment, I mean, is the fact that all the Chinese pieces have Chinese characters, and you have to learn to...
but I mean, once it's got a character, we wouldn't have to know... Once you know how the pieces move, you don't have to know that a rook jumps or goes 2-1 and all that.
Yeah, it should. You're right. It shouldn't be a problem, but nevertheless it is.
Do you play that one? Do you play Chinese chess?
I told you, I won the world championship for non-Chinese.
You played both games. Which one do you like the best?
I play all these. I play all these games.
I know. Do you have
I play
a
every game.
Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite game?
Well, the game I spend most time playing is chess, of course.
Just plain chess.
Chess. I'm trying to get invited right now to they just announced the World Mind Games Championship in Beijing, China. It will be held October 3rd through October 18th in Beijing, China. And so I wrote him a letter It just was announced this past Monday. So I wrote him a letter to China, and I said, look, I won the world championship of Chinese chess for non-Chinese in 1988, so therefore you should invite me. And they wrote me back, and they said, well, we already invited everybody we're going to invite. But
well, why don't they invite you? You were the champion. But why didn't they invite you? How were you overlooked, young man?
I was a champion for non-Chinese. You see, all the players in the tournament are Chinese.
It's that nationalist. It's that nationalist proclivity.
Well, no, it's not quite that. The best players in Chinese chess, the grand. Sandra, get it! Stop
Sandra,
it!
You can't be with the cameras, honey. Don't be with the cameras, okay? Because they fall apart or something.
And they'll break them. And
you don't want to break them. Particularly with a stick.
And don't, the best players in Chinese chess, like let's just say, for example, let's put this in chess terms. The best players in Chinese chess are grandmasters, like 2,700 strength, right? And let's say I'm roughly, I would estimate my strength in Chinese chess at something like an expert 2,000, maybe 2,100, something like that. So in other words, there's a big gap between me and the top Chinese players at Chinese chess. But in terms of the non-Chinese, like myself, European background, there isn't anybody.
Many people picking up on it?
And not too many. I'm rated a FIDE master in Chinese chess. They call me a foreign master. There are only two others in the world. One is
kidding.
That are not Chinese. There are only two others that are not Chinese. One is in Germany, and the other is in Canada. We're the only
three. In touch with one another? It's a small camaraderie group?
No, I think these other two, they're new, more recent. See, I won my title back in 1988, 20 years ago.
Okay,
So these other two are the Canadian and the German. These are
Was there a tournament set up where they measured, like Tiger Woods just won the U.S. Open? Have they got a thing for Chinese chess?
Yeah, sure. I played in a world championship of Chinese chess.
Is it still going?
In Beijing, China, in 1988, and I won the competition for non-Chinese.
But we live in a global village, Mark McLuhan says, so why can't these games migrate out and so forth? And where did the game of chess come from anyway? Was it by Byzantine, or where it came from? Do you know? Maybe
this is my opinion. My opinion is that the chess, as we know it, was invented in China, not in India. Not in India. That's when I have a minority views. A majority of people say India, but I believe it was actually invented in China.
Other things weren't they?
And that Chinese chess and our kind of chess, and shogi, which is Japanese chess, all have the same origin. We don't know exactly where the origin is, but they clearly all have the same origin.
There's no clear understanding of how where it comes from. Not a clear understanding. There's variations of where they think it comes from, India, China.
But definitely they all originated from the same game. That's clear, because all these games have a rook in the corner, a knight next to the rook, the game ends by checkmate, pawns in front. It's all, the structure of the game is the same.
Yeah, it comes out of military thinking and military mentality. And they had great shoguns and all that kind of stuff, and so they had empires and that. Right. And you got interested in that kind of thing, in mathematics. Could this thing, the game, the skills you have with the chess and everything, you were in the Wall Street, could you apply these mathematical capabilities to something like, say, were you advantaged in the realm of, well, we could say picking horses? Or could you tell me which horse is going to win the fifth at Belmont better than anyone else? Or could you do it in a gambling casino? Or can these skills be applied within the gaming world?
Or
what do you think?
A lot of chess players do play the horses.
Yeah, do they? Is that because of a personality trait that's characteristic of those chess masters?
Question: I don't know whether they actually win money yet, but they have all kinds of but there are a considerable number of chess players who play the horses, and they have all kinds of plans and schemes. But the house is like gambling against the house. The house always wins.
Well, the house takes 6%, I think, don't they? Or the Power Mutual, they take 6% out of the pot, and then it's divided up. So that's just a steady business.
But I know that Bill Gorgeberg, who's the president of the United States Chess Federation, that I'm trying to overthrow right now, he's a horse player. I mean, when he's playing,
plunger,
he plays the horses.
But plunges? Does he take big plunges or just $2 bets?
For example, I would consider a $100 bet to be a big bet.
Yeah, that would be big to me, but a lot of people wouldn't.
But to anybody who plays the horses regularly, $100 bet is not a big bet.
How about the stock market? And how about, futures and commodities and things like that? Are there any advantages to thinking chess and having those kind of strategic ways of thinking? Or, just at that level.
Of course there are. The chess players tend to gravitate. A lot of the big old-time brokerage firms were run by chess players. There was a period back in the 1930s, there was a company, I think there's still in business, called M.A. Shapiro and Company, a bank stock company. I think every now and then you'll see on CNN News or something the M.A. Shapiro report. Now that guy, Mr. M.A. Shapiro, was one of the top chess players, one of the top 4 or 5 chess players in the country, and he was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And but he stopped playing around the 1930s, you know.
Okay,
but he ran this brokerage firm which specializes in bank stocks. And then he had people working for him who were also chess masters. All these chess masters like Maurice Wertheim. Wertheim is a very big brokerage firm, was a big patron of chess. Al Horowitz worked for in the stock market for a while. Isaac Cashton worked in the stock market for a while.
Who are these people?
These are all famous. These are all famous chess players.
Yeah, I don't follow it.
Yeah, but they all worked. They were all working in the stock market.
Come on, princess. Come on over here.
Sandra, stop it. Get out of here.
No.
Come here, Sandra.
Come here.
Yeah.
Come here and sit on our lap. Sit on my lap. You want to sit on my lap? You want to sit on my lap? Come on, princess. Sit on my lap. You sit on
Daddy's lap. I think she wants to sit
on Daddy's lap.
But Sandra, you have to stop running around like this.
Yeah, don't stop running around. Don't start running.
We'll get in trouble.
Yeah, we don't want to get in trouble. We don't want to get 86, dear. Yeah.
Okay, just sit on my lap. Okay, we got back. I left got run out of town. There was actually it was
old 86 again.
There was actually an article in the Berkeley Bar saying that Sloan is being run out of town. I actually
not tarred and feather though.
I actually have the old newspaper clipping. It was somewhere around June of 1967.
Yeah.
And Councilman John DeBonis made a motion to the Berkeley City Council, said that we should run Sam Sloan out of town.
On a rail.
And he actually said that.
Did he? Really? Yeah, it's like a Mel Brooks movie.
And that was in the newspapers.
Yeah.
That was published in the newspaper.
Berkeley Barb was great.
And the Berkeley Barb, right?
You knew Mario, I take.
I knew. Yeah, I knew. And Max Scheer was the owner of the Berkeley Barb publisher.
Max Scheer or Robert Scheer?
Max Scheer was the owner of the Berkeley Barb.
Okay.
He was the owner of the Berkeley Barb.
That underground press, there was a lot of stuff going on. Village Voice, East Village Other, and all that kind of stuff. It was a heady time, don't you think, the 60s or the time?
Well,
would you have gone to something? Did you get into music?
I had one thing I got into.
Yeah.
I had an unlimited supply of willing women. That's what.
All right. Well, that's a good thing. Yeah. Right. There's a lot of them in the world. I noticed. It's something like 3 billion.
3 billion women, but
yeah.
But the ones in Berkeley were all available. So,
Okay, that's good. Did you get it? Would you have gone to something like Woodstock? Would you have gotten into poetry, Ginsberg, and that kind I
knew Ginsberg.
Yeah.
But in fact, I knew him because he lived right down the block from me, right here in New York City.
Tompkins Square.
Yeah. I lived next to Tompkins Square. I lived on 7th Street between A and B.
Wait a minute, she wants something. The princess calls.
What?
Yes, dear. Yes?
There's a TV show going,
what
Sandra.
Is it? We're in the middle of a TV show here.
You can't pee right now.
It's the middle of a TV show. You have to go bathroom?
Is that what you want?
No.
Okay.
You okay, honey? We're just talking about chess and all that kind of stuff. He does it all the time, right?
Come with me.
She can't because we're in the middle of taping a program, honey.
No.
Why don't you come with us?
Come here, Sandra.
What do you think? Does she have to go to the bathroom?
No, she just, no, she doesn't. She make it. No, you can't. Okay, about... Oh, now I tell you what I missed. I was when I had to leave town in Berkeley. And I really did have to leave town.
Really?
I decided to go to the Monterey Institute of Foreign Studies in Monterey, California.
Okay, yeah.
To intensive Spanish. This is a school where you go to 8 hours a day. You speak Spanish. You're not allowed to speak.
Why did you do that, if I may? Why?
Well, because I wanted to get credits in Spanish. You know.
Okay, why?
I needed to get 24 credits in Spanish to graduate from Berkeley.
I see.
Or in some language. You know.
In language. Okay.
So here I went to the Monterey. So then I heard I was on the main street in Monterey and going to Monterey. I heard that there was some sort of big band coming or something like that. Yeah. But I decided not to go because I attended all these things in People's Park and not actually People's Park but Golden Gate Park and things like that. The Be-In with Timothy Leary. Yeah. So I decided I've gone to.
Did you know Timmy Leary?
I met him. I actually saw him really, but
we weren't close.
But anyway, so what happened was.
Thank you.
I was living 5 blocks away from the Monterey Pop Festival.
Oh, wow. That
where
was,
Janis Joplin
and
Jimi Hendrix, 67.
Yeah, right.
June of 67. Yeah. I was living 5 blocks away, and I didn't go.
Well, okay, I don't mean to pry, but why didn't you? Why would you not have gone? What was the reason? Was it a lady?
No, because I went to
a lady.
No, because I went to all kinds of things like that. And I just got tired of it. It was just another pop festival.
Well, how would I? Talent, but you didn't know the music that. What did you pay attention to? Were you into the poetry and the music?
I was going to everything like that, but I didn't go to that one, even though it was only 5 blocks from my house.
Okay, but you went to the others, right? You go to Altamont?
No.
Did you go to Woodstock?
No, I never. It was only in San Francisco when I was
a little earlier. Yeah,
I was recruiting victims for my sex orgies.
All right. That's a way to use that energy. Now, you've had a very interesting life. You got into the publishing relatively recently, because we could have put you down as a publisher, and you published how many books? You brought a box full of them here, and they're all interesting. talk a little bit about that because that's an important part of your thing. And then we want to get to Afghanistan.
Okay. I published now since January of 2006. Since about in the last 2.5 years, I published 45 books.
Boy, that's a lot.
And I've got 5 more in the hopper right now that will probably come out within the next few weeks.
I'll be done.
It doesn't take me too long to publish a book. Some of the books I actually wrote myself, which I'm reprinting. Some of the books are like the book about my 30 years backstairs in the White House. That's actually written by 2 ladies who died a long time ago.
That's the one you said was a bestseller.
Right.
Yeah,
The bestseller in my books.
Oh, of your books, the bestseller of your books. Okay,
The bestseller which I actually wrote is Chinese Chess for Beginners.
Okay.
That one I sell a couple every day, because everybody recognizes that this is the best book about Chinese chess.
Now you said you started in 2006. You've been on the planet many years before 2006. Why did you start in 2006, and why didn't you publish in the year 1956 or 66 or 76 or something? What happened that made you a publisher all of a sudden?
There were two things. One is I got control of this company called Ishii Press.
You got control through a stock deal?
Not control, but basically the company went out of business, and I brought it back into business. Is what it was.
And it's Japanese, was it?
Yeah, it's Japanese. Yeah, and my wife is Japanese, by the way. My current wife.
Good. Yeah, okay.
And the second thing is, they actually have made some new changes in the law. The law has changed, where it's now become more easy to reprint them. If you have a book which basically there is no, the author's dead, let's say, and there is no claimant on the copyright, and the book is out of print for like 50, 60 years, and there's no way to find out if anybody owns this book. I mean, it's simply impossible. You have to search, do a search, and after doing a search, you can't find anybody who has a right to the book. Then you can reprint it. Now, if that person appears, if such a person appears, let's say my grandfather was such, something like that, then you have to stop printing. But this hasn't happened to me. Like for example, my
yeah, honey, come over here. Can you come over and play? Can you come over and play?
One of my best books is called Illustrated Catalog of Chinese Coins by Edward Kahn.
Okay, that's really interesting, yeah.
Published in 1954. Okay, so that's 54 years ago.
Yeah.
And
There she is.
Mr. Kahn was the leading authority on Chinese coins. And
in the world?
In the world. He actually worked,
of coins out there.
No, he worked in the ministry in Shanghai, China.
Right. Okay.
He lived in China for 27 years. He worked. He was the chief financial officer, practically, of the government of China.
Okay.
So he was the world's leading authority in Chinese coins. And then he got out of China in 1949, and he wrote this book in 1954, and then he died. So now that book, I have just finished selling 3 sets of that book for $75 each. So I got $225.
You're making money on this publishing?
Just in the last 3 days, I sold 3 sets of that book, and all the buyers are in China, in the country of China.
Okay, that's a global market you're tapping,
And I didn't even know that anybody in China had $75.
We're in the money, the skies are sunny.
But the postage to send that book to China is $36. But I just sold 3 sets of that book to China within the last week.
You feel like a mogul, or you feel like a publisher. You're going to move over, Mr. Who's the greatest publisher in the world? I don't know, Simon and Schuster or something.
They're almost out of business, aren't
they? I don't know, the business. But you're doing, and you just got, so are you enjoying that? Did you see the piece in the New York Times about a month or 2 ago about the fellow who's written 200,000 books?
No, I didn't see that. No.
I'll send it to you. Okay. I think I still have it on the computer. It was the New York Times. He doesn't write books. It's lining up algorithms, keyword things, and it's just put them in, and then you press the button, and the book is created. And it really target down to it's very, very special, but it's just a system he's got. It's all computer driven and so forth. And it's just a series of algorithms by which you can put together on demand and very targeted, right down to very specialized kind of things. 200,000 books. That's pretty staggering.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen the book.
He's in Europe somewhere.
Yeah, okay.
I'll try and send it to you.
Okay.
If it would be of interest to you, I'm not sure.
Well, of course I'm interested in things
like
that.
Okay, and we got to become friends. I just met you the other night in any real detail. We got to become friends. Now, we have one of the things, if they don't throw us out, if we're not 86'd out of here, let's talk a little bit, because you've had a very variegated life, very interesting, well-led life and everything. What happened, because I hear tell that you were involved in Afghanistan.
Okay.
Now, what is that about? You were in prison or something? And let me know about how did you wind up in Afghanistan to get into all that trouble?
Well, first thing is, I was in jail in Afghanistan.
I was in jail. It sounds like I was, in jail. Yeah. Sounds like a road movie with Bing Crosby. Or something.
By the way, I can prove it. I can count to 10 in Pashto. Very few people can do it.
Pashto.
Yawadwa Dre Solar Penza Spawata Nalas Yalas Dwalas Drelos Solalas Penzalas.
That sounds like more than 10.
That's 15. Up to
That's 15. I thought there was more than 10.
Now, I bet you there are not 5 people in America who are not Afghans. I mean, 5 people who are not Afghans or Pakistanis who can count to 15 in Pashto.
Yeah, I'm sure. Pashto? Is it Pashto?
Pashto, yeah.
Not Pashtun.
Pashto.
Pashto.
I learned that in...
Yeah, the Pashtuns are really...
I learned that
they're Pashtuns.
in jail, yeah.
Yeah, okay. You were in jail. Why were you in jail with the Pashtuns?
Here's what happened. I just became fascinated by Afghanistan. I made 3 trips to Afghanistan. The first was in '76, summer of '76. Then I came back in the summer of '77, and I established a bank account. I ordered money to be transferred to my bank account. I had a lot of money then because I was still in the stock market then, so I actually had...
You made a lot of money in the stock market?
Yes.
I mean, a lot of money or just comfortable?
Comfortable money.
Well, comfortable's good.
Not big money.
But you got to hit the salary.
So I had $5,000 transferred from my bank account in New York to my bank in Afghanistan in 1977.
How would you set up the bank in Afghanistan?
Well, I just went to the Pashtani to Bharati Bank and opened a bank account. But
you knew how to do it. Yeah.
But then I decided to come back and make another trip to Afghanistan. But the money had not arrived. I made a telex transfer, but the money had not arrived when I had to go back to New York. So a year later, I came back. I bought a car in Munich, Germany, across from the University of München. And I bought a car in Munich, Germany, a Volkswagen, a little Volkswagen Bug. And I drove the car all the way to Afghanistan.
Yeah. From where?
Munich, Germany.
To Afghanistan.
I drove the car from Munich, Germany to Afghanistan.
Through Kazakhstan, or where did you come?
No, I went through from Munich, Germany. I went through Austria, then to Hungary, then to Romania, then Bulgaria, and then across Turkey and Iran, and then to Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Now I didn't go in a one straight thing. I stopped along the way. I stopped here. I stopped there. I stopped for a month in.
Were you having a good time?
In Romania, for example, I stopped for a month in Romania.
Ceausescu?
I have a little story about Ceausescu too. You want to hear my story about Ceausescu?
Sure, but quick, we got to get it all in.
Okay, here's the
story.
Your
life's too exciting.
I got to Bucharest, and I decided to fly to Moscow. And,
thank you, Don.
And I was told somebody gave me wrong information and said I could get a visa, Russian visa, Soviet visa in Moscow if I just flew there. So I went to the airport and I bought a one-way ticket to Moscow.
Yeah.
I left my car, Volkswagen BW, at the airport in Bucharest. Okay, so I fly to Moscow, but they wouldn't accept me there. They rejected me. And what they did is they put me on the first airplane out of the country, which happened to be going to Warsaw, Poland. So now all of a sudden I arrived from Romania, but I was sent to Poland, right? So Ryan in Poland, I was very disappointed in my trip in Poland because I spent 3 nights there, and I only slept with 2 women.
Oh, dear.
And that's very...
That's not up to par for you?
Not for Poland.
You've been busy, young man. Okay.
Not for Poland. Poland women were coming at your ears.
Really?
But there were so many women in Poland.
You could write a book on that subject. There'd be a lot of interest in that.
You just cannot imagine the women in Poland. You know, they were all available. You know, but anyway, but I didn't have time for that. So I caught a trip.
That's something you would probably sell if you wrote a book like that. You know? And put a map of the world and pattern recognition. Yeah. But go ahead.
So anyway, I finally caught a train. And
We've only got 7 minutes left, so you got to get it in
I caught a train, and I got back. Anyway, I got back to Bucharest, and I went to the airport to get my car because I left my car parked at the airport in Bucharest.
Yeah.
And what had happened is while I had been absent during like the couple of weeks I'd been absent, Ceausescu had arrived from some other place to Bucharest, and all the cars had vacated the airport, and only my car was left.
I'll be damned.
And what they had done is they had taken the car apart looking for bombs inside
I'll be damned, really.
They take the whole car apart and put it back together. and they came out and they told me about this, the guards at the airport. And I got in the car and put the key in and drove it off, you know. Drove it all the way to Afghanistan. Afghanistan.
That was your thing with Ceausescu's Romania. But now what about Afghanistan?
Okay, when I get to Afghanistan, I'm driving around having a good time.
What were you doing there?
I was just looking for girls and stuff like that, the usual thing. And
you weren't doing political stuff?
No.
You're not using that as cover for anybody? You're not reporting back to anybody?
No, absolutely.
You're just looking for girls?
But they thought that I was a CIA agent. So
supposedly. They got that fixed on you.
The Afghans arrested me as a CIA agent.
I got arrested in Egypt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but go ahead.
Okay, so I wound up in jail in Lashkar-Gah in Helmand province. And finally, I didn't know why they had arrested me. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't. Why they arrested me? I didn't know the language.
Don't turn on the lights, honey. Don't. Somebody don't turn those lights.
Sandra, stop it.
Come over here. Come over here, princess. Come on over here. Will you sit on my lap? Sit on my lap. Come on, sit on my lap.
And stop messing in my books. I have to sell these books too.
Yeah, they are up for sale. This is business, dear.
So I had a friend who was actually arrested with me, and I figured out the sun, the moon, and the stars, and I was out in the middle of the desert in a place called Lashkar-Gah.
I don't know where that is.
Well,
Kandahar or no?
No. Well, actually, it is about 60 miles from Kandahar.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit southwest of Kandahar.
Here,
So anyway, I figured out. I realized finally that they thought I was a spy. Well, now what do you do with spies? Well, you shoot them.
Yeah, you shoot them. With the summary trial.
You kill spies. So stop it, Sandra. Stop it. Stop it. Why do you keep doing it? So I realized that they were going to kill me.
No.
So what I did was, I figured out just by the sun, the moon, and the stars where I was, because it was trackless desert, no trees, nothing like that. And I escaped from jail, and I literally walked across the desert diagonally, avoiding any road, any highway, anything, and just straight across the desert.
How'd you escape? There was a real jail, or was it a real jail?
It was actually a police station.
Yeah.
And they had about 5 or 6 soldiers guarding.
And you think they were out to do you in?
No. I think I very well might have been killed. In fact, the Afghans who I know. By the way, I know several Afghans from that jail who are here in New York.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, I told you. If you go to the corner of 7th Avenue and 41st Street.
7th Avenue and
41st Street.
41st Street.
Or Broadway and 40th Street. Go to those corners right there, Broadway and 40th Street. And there are Afghans standing on those corners.
Who have been in that prison?
Who knew me.
Who knew you in that prison?
Yeah.
So just mention your name. They know you?
Yeah, they know me.
Did you have this? You didn't have a known travel. You were Sam Sloan. You were known as
Haji Mohammed Ismail Sloan.
Haji what?
Haji Mohammed Ismail Sloan.
Ismail Sloan. I thank you for that. You picked up a little Pashtun or Arabic, right?
The people who know it know what I just said.
You have a knack for language?
I only know about 15 languages.
15's a lot. I met a guy in Turkey when I was hitchhiking through back in '57. He could speak 24 languages, ideogrammatically. Really well, philosophically almost.
Okay.
And he said, once you know one, it's much easier if you can. There's a lot of room there for that. So you walked out of the prison and you walked across a deserted area, and you escaped from the Afghan prison. How long were you in prison?
At that time I was only there about 2 weeks. But the thing was, now I got to the U.S. Embassy in Kabul, and they didn't believe me. And so now, finally, what I had to do was, there was a consular officer named David Block. He believed me, but the other consular officer, they didn't believe me. They thought I must be just making a
fantasy. Yeah, but you're an American walking around in that environment. So, what year was that?
1978.
Okay, right. Well, that's the Russians were there.
Yeah. So the
no, not quite. That was before they were going to come. They probably thought you were an advanced Russian agent.
The actual date of my arrest, I believe, was June 3rd, 1978. Yeah. So anyway, I decided to try to escape from Afghanistan myself by walking across the border. They caught me again. They threw me back in jail. I was in jail in Jalalabad, Demazang, Pulicharki.
My God.
These are all big jails in Afghanistan.
We got to say goodbye because the credits are rolling. We've run out. We got to do more. It's your pleasure. Sam Sloan, raconteur and a citizen extraordinaire. Happy to have presented that. We'll have to do more. But go on. Continue about Afghanistan. Talk us out on Afghanistan escape.
Well, anyway, finally I was escorted across the border by a real CIA